Google newsletter. Try to sign up for the Google newsletter with an valid email address from Google, and it doesn't let me with my own email address. This is insane.
Did you try with two ads, like your first one and then a second one at gmail.com, and it drops the second?
I tried the plus sign with a tag so I can filter, and it doesn't like them.
So welcome to an episode of Matt's Inbox, filtering and setup process.
We have an LLM for that.
We do.
This is a segment we do once a month where we fix Matt's IT problems.
Fix. That's a funny word. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Hello, IT. Did you turn it off and then back on again?
Hello, computer.
I'm sorry, but as somebody whose initials is IT, I think that's very.
That did mess me up one time when you joined a call, and I was like, why is the IT department here? I'm like, IT, get the heck out of here. We don't need you. We fix our own computer problems. And like,
but that's people keep telling me, even if my initials were something else. Well, go the way you built.
If don't need you to be here.
If nobody gets the reference to that quote, or computer,
it has to be in a Scottish accent.
So I can't do a Scottish accent. I can only
Is
do
it from
British
her?
accent. Sorry.
Is it her? The movie?
No.
What is it from?
It's the IT crowd. The IT
But
crowd?
wait. Where did it come from before? Sorry, you're missing it.
Uh-oh.
It comes from Star Trek, from one of the movies.
Oh, really?
Where they travel to the past, and they are shown a computer. And the first thing that Scotty does is grab the mouse and go, computer. Hey, computer.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Okay, it was funnier still on the IT crowd, though.
Oh,
IT
yeah,
crowd.
that was better.
The IT crowd is something that the security table recommends that you check out, especially if you've ever worked at a help desk job.
Especially if you want to understand why we are so cynical sometimes.
Yes, and if you like British comedy, of course.
Oh, of course. It's brilliant. Brilliant. I laugh every time. I've probably watched it 5 times at this point.
That was the first episode, too, I think.
I think so. But that's a reboot waiting to happen.
They tried. They were going to bring Moss to America. It was going to be an American version of it. And they did the pilot, which I saw somewhere. I watched the pilot, and it wasn't good at all. They lost the magic. Like, what's that guy's name? The guy that plays Roik, Frisk something, the Irish guy. Without him, he's like the match to Moss. Like, you need his over giant personality with Moss's like lack of personality.
But the boss takes.
Yeah,
which one?
I mean,
the big boss, the guy that later on went to What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, he's a big Broadway, London theater performer.
He's awesome.
I can't remember his name. It's Renham. Renham was the original boss, and then I don't remember what's that guy's name. Okay, it'll come to me later while we're talking.
Oh, what we're going to do today?
We're not just going to analyze the IT crowd.
The
whole episode. Okay.
And this is not going to turn into Pink and a Brain.
That's true. All right. Well, our first item on the docket is apparently the good folks at CISA produced a set of product security bad practices.
Something we've been doing for thousands of years already. We have bad practices everywhere. We produce them every day.
You've been building products for thousands of years?
it feels like it.
Accumulated.
Number of products, number of years per product. Yeah, 1,000 years sounds about right.
You know what? Tell you what. Sometimes it feels like we have.
So I think that the challenge here with our product security bad practices, is it's a bit of a cop-out. And the reason I say that is because all they did was take their document and flip it around and put not. And now they produced a new piece of content. So do we just see content marketing at work here? Or is there any actual new value to what they've come up with as their list of bad practices?
It's basically formal proofing, right? They gave you like one part and then they inverted it and said, see, it's still valid, so that thing works.
Hold on a sec, guys. I have to go. There's a woodpecker at my door. Look, yeah, we're right back.
Welcome to the medical zoo. It's a woodpecker.
Matt, and let the record show, Matt is literally leaving the recording to tangle with a woodpecker. All of a sudden, we hear Matt go, "Oh, stop, move!" And then you hear this.
Tune in next week as we see Matt chase a coyote.
So normally I'm muting because the dogs are barking like crazy, but today it's a woodpecker that's in my wooden house, and woodpeckers, don't mix.
So what is his name? What have you named him?
I don't care.
Okay. Poke.
So just sweets. So we don't get in trouble. So we don't get in trouble with the animal rights folks. I won't say dead woodpecker, but chased off woodpeckers is fine.
Yes, no woodpeckers were harmed in the filming of this podcast.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So bad practice.
Some clapboard siding, maybe. Bad practices. Yeah. Clouding your house in clapboard siding in your.
So how could you use the product security bad practices to prevent woodpecker attacks?
Exactly. That's such a good analogy, like putting those strips in the corners of your house, hoping that to drive the woodpeckers away. It's so much like some of the stuff here.
Well, and
so
of
much
course
like
the bad practices paper doesn't call out that you're not doing threat modeling. Of course.
Yeah, so that would be a bad practice to not do. So that's where this gets confusing. Is it's like all the negative.
Yeah, but they're not calling out. They're being very selective of what they're calling out, right? So they're calling out lack of memory safety, right? They're on the memory safety train. We could dive into that. They did actually expand that one. We could talk about that a bit more. But then they called out, OS command injection and SQL injection, but not like cross-site scripting or other vulnerabilities. Why that one? Very selective. So in this inversion, it wasn't simply, not having defenses against, common vulnerabilities. It was specifically against a specific vulnerability.
But it is, because later on they say presence of known exploited vulnerabilities.
Oh, sorry. I should say the weakness out of vulnerability, right? So calling out the OS command injection specifically.
It's like, are we really at the stage that we need somebody to pop up and say, guys, having known exploited vulnerabilities is a bad thing, okay? Let's not do it. By the way, can you sign here and pledge that you won't? It's,
Well, I mean, alternatively, you could go the way the EU is going, right? So if you're familiar with, say, the CRA, I think it's called the Tajira Resiliency Act, or I forget what this CRA stands for. It calls out having no vulnerabilities when you ship something. I mean, so you have CISA saying you shouldn't have vulnerabilities. That's a bad practice. Voluntary sign up for doing something about it. And then you have the CRA saying, if you want to ship to Europe, no vulnerabilities. And
that just shows that their legislation was created by people who have no idea how systems work, how software works. At this stage, I would love for us to have a world where we could say, this piece of software has no vulnerabilities, but it's just not possible. It's just not even in the realm of possibility. And
I'm sorry, it goes even deeper than that. We do live in a world where people say this piece of software has no vulnerabilities with absolutely no base on truth. They just say it because it became a marketing thing. Yeah, we checked ourselves and we found that we are fine.
We read this, that doesn't work against the piece of technology that we use and therefore didn't find anything. And so
in this world of promises and pledges, we got to a point where people can, they feel good enough to go and declare themselves safe, and that apparently is just enough for some people. Yeah, but
it makes you back it up. Right.
But then
SolarWinds is a great example of this. They would have told you they were safe a month before their famed incident, and then they lost a lot of customers as a result of their supply chain or their build pipelines be in.
But to go back to our last 2 episodes, they still have a lot of customers because people are
True.
saying, okay, so they had a bad, fine, cool. They still need the functionality. Let's move on.
Yeah, they had a bad day.
Yeah.
Everybody has a bad day.
But on the chapter of things written by people who really have possibly not a lot of experience in what they're supporting, when you go down and when you scroll down, you get to the organizational processes and policies. So they made 2 choices to put in there: failing to publish timely CVEs with CWEs, and failing to publish a vulnerability disclosure and disclosure policy.
Mhm.
Now, step back and remember, to me, 15 minutes ago, when were you involved in organizational processes and policies of publishing hopefully secure software? Seriously, of all the problems that are in there, these 2 are the ones that we should go to first.
Well, so I have a theory about the CWE one, but the vulnerability disclosure practices is actually a good common sense one, I think, right? If you don't tell your customers how you treat vulnerabilities and you're not upfront about that, there's a lot of FUD that can happen. And having been in industries where vulnerability reporting was not really a thing, it led to a lot of consternation. Like, hey, I found a bug in your software. I rely on this software for critical function XYZ. What am I going to do? Is this a problem for you? Right? You go
I'm
to a
not saying
support
that it's
forum.
bad.
You go to a support forum and you submit an article to a support
but
forum.
Everybody's got that now.
No, but
Everybody's
again,
got it.
I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not even saying that everybody's got it. A lot of people don't. But if you are creating a foundational document, something that people are going to carry for years to come,
Mhm.
are these the 2 hills you are choosing to die on? Is this the impact that you can make industry-wide?
I have a theory about the CWE one. I have a feeling that it's really and I say we collectively, CISA or somebody in the government or other places, we don't know how big the mountain really is. And so let's add data. Let's get companies to add data that we can use to do better reporting later. So today, if you do a vulnerability and you get a CVE, you provide a description. And that description has been historically pretty horrible, right? Has not provided a lot of details about what the vulnerability is. Maybe you get a CVSS vector that provides some information that you can pull, is it remotely exploitable and is it disastrous if it's exploited, that sort of thing. But the underlying root cause is never really brought out in those descriptions, or very rarely brought out in those descriptions. And so by adding the CWE or CWEs that are involved, you now have root cause. And so if you have this approach where you want to reduce, say, injection and memory safety vulnerabilities, and there's no weaknesses, but there's no way to know that you're actually getting memory safety as a root cause of a CVE, adding a CWE to a CVE is a good way to do that.
Yes, but going back to the document, they say that for products used in service of critical infrastructure and NCFs, it is dangerous and significantly elevates risk to national security, national economic security, and national public health and safety for the software manufacturer to not issue CVEs in a timely manner. Nobody says what timely manner means. For a minimum of critical and high impact vulnerabilities, right? Additionally, it is dangerous and significantly elevates risk to national security, national economic security, and national public health and safety to not include the CWE field in every CVE record. What I'm missing here is how.
Well, it's no
Again,
teeth. That's been my whole challenge with everything that they've done here. There are no teeth in this thing, and the requirement is wishy-washy.
But wait, it's not even teeth. It's we should have data to support this assertion.
Well,
Tell me when was the last time that national security got impacted because somebody didn't put a CWE in a CV?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? If you have just a CVE with a description, and let's just say for a moment NIST is still bogged down in trying to get doing CVE reviews and doesn't have a vector associated with that severity. So you have a severity, but you may not have a vector. You may need to have a severity. You may just have a description of a vulnerability. How do you prioritize that? And how do you prioritize that effectively? I'm not saying this is the best answer, but this is my theory, right? It adds data to a description, which historically has been weak in providing information to a defender.
I'm sorry. I watched all of 24. I watched all of the Tom Clancy movies. Okay. I watched a bunch of not Clint Eastwood, of Harrison Ford ones.
What about Jack Ryan?
Jack Ryan, that too, and that's like the newest one. I even
Before
watched
or after Clancy was alive.
I haven't heard one. Don't get me started there. I haven't heard one single line of dialogue that begins with, "Quick, what is the CWE? This is a matter of national security."
I mean,
They're saying here, it is dangerous and significantly elevates risk to national security. So we probably have something to point back and say, oops, this happened if we only had the CWE.
yeah, no,
What was
you've
it?
pointed that out. You've pointed that. I didn't catch that the first time I read this. And so I am, as you continue to talk, I've been reading and rereading that statement. And it's pretty darn funny that basically the world is going to end if you don't put the CWE field in every CVE record. The world will end. Society as we know it will disappear. Zombies will roam the earth. Armageddon, apocalypse, whatever. You know, Izar is, oh boy.
Is there just one on you?
The end is beginning now where Izar is not able to talk.
We saw that. I heard that. You know,
It's the beginning of the end.
1 minute he's there, and the next minute CISA's listening and going, "Oh,
Yep, they blocked him.
Look, what can I say? They love me at the NSA.
it's not
And by the
NSA
way,
you need
guys,
to
I
worry
love you
about."
back. I love you back.
Do you still start every Zoom call as "Hello, whoever you are on the line"?
Plus, I have black helicopters over here, all the time.
Well, that's because you have a famous person run into the woods and you don't know what she's doing in there.
No, it's because I'm the line between the Hudson and the Sikorsky factory. He can't go by one day.
All right, we've probably talked about this one enough for the amount of new
we've
material.
We've just
Yeah.
gotten started, but
Let's shift left to
the gift that
something
keeps on
else.
giving.
All right, so second item on the docket is the Stark reading article, Shift Left Gets Pushback, Triggers Security Soul Searching. So I feel like we've been throwing some noise at Shift Left. I've been throwing noise at Shift Left for at least a year or two because I actually wrote a post about making fun of, I went and Googled Shift Left, found a bunch of vendors that were using it in different ways and then made fun of each one of them individually. So I feel like that shows I was not, I was one of the first people to turn on the whole Shift Left idea, but apparently there's a movement now. We've started something. We should get t-shirts.
So, I mean, my mantra has always been start left, don't shift left, start left. But if you are breaking down if you're breaking down the concept that shift left is an invalid concept, then start left is invalid too, because it fundamentally goes to who's responsible for what. And then that's highlighted in this article, right? So this is an article mostly by Acquia, but written by Dark Reading. The question is, so shift left is, of course, the notion that security needs something done and tells developers to go do it.
Yeah.
And well, I should say, that's the premise of this article. The idea really should have been that developers and engineering teams, when they're building software or products or systems or whatever, should have looked at security as one of the properties of that system, like they do quality today.
Let's, Matt, before we go too deep into this, let's deal with that first paragraph, because there is some, they are basically pointing at this 100x number that we've thrown around. The first time I found it published was in an IBM. I found it referenced in an IBM document from the late 70s. But they've got it further back to TRW.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're basically saying that the 100x metric doesn't apply today. But I guess the question I have for you guys, I'd love to get your take on this, is, do we agree or disagree with this statement that it is cheaper to fix a problem during the design phase than it is in production. When it makes it to
yes,
production.
but not for the same reasons that may have started the 1 to 100 thing.
And yes, but with a big caveat.
Okay.
So let me go first with the caveat. Modern application development, as you guys have tried to hammer into my brain for the past X number of episodes. I'm still stuck in a we build hardware kind of world. But if you're using, if your entire development is taking other people's code and configuring it, so you're actually not doing a lot of custom development, you're doing a lot of stitching of, microservices and Kubernetes and web frameworks together to make stuff happen. And maybe that doesn't hold, because what is your design phase? Your design phase is really which components do I put together and how do I stitch them together, not architecting one of those components from scratch. Right. So I'll say that caveat is, you threw out that maybe not in the way we are expecting or thinking.
Because we have that model stuck in our heads that you create software, you publish software, you sell software, and then there's something that you have to fix, and oh my God, now you have to run around and replace all existing versions and all that stuff, and that connects back to the hardware aspect of the thing, and that's damn expensive. Nowadays, when people claim to be, deploying thousands of times a day, Lord knows if I ever seen that. Like, I've seen people claim that. I haven't people doing that. And
I think the last number I've seen was Amazon. Every 8 seconds, they in theory could push to production.
Right? Yeah.
So what they define as production is a very vast ocean.
Yeah, and what they
stuff.
define as deployment is also. But anyway, today it's easy to bypass. Like, it's cheap to bypass that. Oh my God, there's something wrong. Click a button, everybody gets the new version, everybody's happy. If they haven't used the software in 8 seconds, then they haven't even noticed it. But the point is that we are talking about design here. So design, in my very much biased head, means that the fix is probably not a 3-line patch. It's a lower level turtle. And still, fixing that, changing that, and I meet that every single time that I speak with a startup, and I go, oh, but you guys have SSO support, right? And they go, no, but it's going to be trivial to put it in. And then, and then trivial turns into a battle. And are you guys really, really sure that you want this? No, our password management stuff is much better than any SSO. No, seriously, you don't need this. It's okay. Listen to me. It's okay, brother.
Don't you trust us?
You should. You totally should. But my point is that real design flaws are probably still way more expensive to fix than just deploying the newest patch, right? So 1 to 100, I have absolutely no numbers to support anything that I say like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't use the 1 to 100.
It's more, but it's not necessarily a particular number more.
Wait, you think it's so? Hold on. Wait, what does that mean? You just said
no.
He
didn't mean it's more than 1 to 100.
It's relative. It's relative. It is more than patching in the patching a software bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have to change your architecture or you have to make a design change, but is it 100x?
So it's exponential. You're saying it's an exponential.
No, I just
no.
It's greater.
Well, on a comparative scale, it's probably more expensive to fix design flaws,
right?
Probably.
Than patch.
Almost certainly more expensive.
We're way too wishy-washy here. With
probably.
Well, okay. So first off, we agree. I think we generally agree it's more expensive to fix a design flaw than it is to fix a software flaw, right? To change a buffer versus changing your programming language, it is almost certainly more expensive to change programming language.
You're kind of using an extreme
example
of one and a simple example of the other. You kind of got it. It's not an apples oranges comparison what you just gave.
I understand that.
It's an apples and battleship comparison.
But give me an apples to apples comparison.
I don't know.
It's cheaper to change our tire than to redesign your transmission.
Okay.
Okay. That's a given. It is. The question is, how many times you're going over the lifetime of a car? How many times are you going to have to change a tire versus how many times you're going to have to redesign the transmission?
You could say rotate the tire would be an even better example, because I don't
Probably,
change a
yeah.
lot of tires these days, but my tires are rotated every time I change my oil, right?
That's because you have AAA as a third-party service.
But you know what? Tire rotation is a preventative measure, not a reactive measure.
Good point. Eventually, you're going to have a flat, especially if you drive in New York. My God. But my point is that in some cars you won't ever have to redesign the transmission.
Yeah.
But when you have one that does get a recall because the transmission is bad and it has to be redesigned, that's going to be
redesign
expensive.
or replace, right? Replacing a transmission, right, is a pretty serious change to your vehicle.
But that's like
not an analogy.
the transmission in this example has become a software component. If I'm replacing it, it's a software component. If I'm redesigning it, that's an architectural
that's a design
play.
flaw. That's a design flaw.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's not something that you're going to do every Tuesday and Thursday, but when it happens, it hits you. Right. So,
but is it definitively 100x? I mean, you can't put a number on it until it happens, and then you get, you start to build up data.
We don't really need a number.
Wait. You know what? Redesigning a transmission is a bad example. Remember a couple of years ago that there was some car that was found that if it gets hit at a certain angle, the
Pinto,
the gas tank would explode.
Pinto, yeah.
That's exactly it, right?
Well, actually, you could even do a modern example of you have a big shiny box of a thing that has door angles and things that don't open or close properly, and no handles when it's frozen, and that sort of. I mean. Yeah, you could go back to the Pinto, or you can come up with something a little bit closer to.
Yeah, that's a solution with other use case if I ever saw one. But anyway, so my point is, it's not going to be a cost that you are putting out of your pocket every week. But when it happens, it hits you hard. Right. The point is, the question here is one versus the other, because the vulnerabilities, you probably are spending that money many times over the lifetime of a product. Does that cumulative cost compare to design flaws? And is that at all something that we should be doing? Because my point is, even if it's well designed, those vulnerabilities will still keep coming up because of what Matt keeps telling us, that it's a quality thing. And just to go back to the developers don't want to deal with the shit.
So let's see if we can boil this down into a final nugget of truth. So it sounds like we are all saying that it will be more expensive to fix any software, any issue you have with something that you're building. It will be more expensive to fix it in production than it would be to fix it earlier in the life cycle. Well, what we're saying is we're not ready. We're not going to attach 100x, just like the article said. We're not willing to put a 100x number on it anymore. Because it might only be 2x, it might be 1.5x. But the point is, if somebody, and this is how I've always explained it to people, is you release something to production, 3 to 6 weeks go by, somebody finds a problem with it. As a developer, you get a bug ticket. Your brain has already moved on. You've grabbed new user stories. You've removed the history of that feature you built from your memory banks. You've loaded in a new one. You're in the middle of working on it, designing it, making it work. Now you have to unload all the things in your head now, reload what you did 6 weeks ago, and then that's rework, right? That's the whole principle of rework. That is going to be more expensive than if you had just done it correctly and not let the issue be created when you first built the feature.
Yes, but wait, two things. First of all, what you gave is just a great point for shift left, right? What you just described.
Whoa, then I take it back.
What you just described is the shift left argument, the right one. And the second thing that I want to add is that we've been looking at economic costs. There's also another cost in there for the team, which is the pain of having to revisit the foundation of the thing that you built and
Yeah.
say, guys, we should have thought it before.
I mean, that's an economic. It all boils down to economic costs, though. Like, listen, I run businesses.
It's
and
deeper than
businesses-
that.
But at the end of the day, to me, it comes down to my cost, and my
It's
return
deeper
on
than that.
investment from my development, my engineering team.
It's a bunker buster for team morale.
Yeah.
You have to go back. Yeah.
No, finish your thought, because I'm actually, as I'm rereading this over and over again, as you guys are talking, I think we're missing something too on top of that. But finish your thought.
Go ahead.
Well, so just to continue your discussion, the thread you're on, what's the cost to the business if they release bugs, right? Bug over bug over bug, or exploitable vulnerability over exploitable vulnerability, or breach capable software versus not. So there's some additional costs there which are not being factored in. Maybe 100x is still a funny number. But as I reread this, there's something else that is interesting here. So the very first paragraph about this talks about, is it cheaper to fix a software bug in design time versus fixing it in production? And you could take this, and then it says, well, but this requires developers to buy very expensive tool, from vendors, right? So it's pushing a vendor-based or tool-based approach. But do they really mean design bugs? We've been arguing about design bugs, right? Or do they really mean fixing vulnerabilities in pre-production or during development?
So I think that's really more what has been. I mean, we've taken it to what we love, which is threat modeling, design, things like that. That we're putting our own security table colored glasses on and looking at it and how we like to think about it. But I think you're 100% right. That's not how most people think about it.
Right. So if you're talking about fixing a bug, I mean, so for decades, people have run standard code now and analysis tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you find 100,000, string formatting errors, you're not going to fix them all, right? But you may buy a tool to say, okay, which ones of these do I have to fix because it's on my attack surface? I do some penetration testing or whatever, and these are exploitable. I do some fuzzing, and these are the ones I'm going to worry about. You can prioritize them. Now you're adding tools to solve which of these needles in this haystack do I want to pull out before a customer steps on them?
Okay,
right, and there's an argument to be made about who is responsible for security and or quality of a system and who really cares.
Just to support that, a while ago I heard from someone sentence that really, the person said that they run I don't remember what kind of tool, but they found so many bugs that they didn't fix any.
We got to have a term for that.
Look at Qualys. Look at Qualys. Look at Fortify. Look at any of the of the scanners or stack analyzers. That, I mean, hundreds of thousands of issues and because of bad practice. Mostly
it's a finding over mode at the end.
But it's bad practice, right? So if you don't initialize a variable, which is a pretty common development practice, do you have an exploitable flaw? Whether it's a vulnerability or not, I'm just like, is the quality or strength either?
Well, I never initialize vulnerability.
You can't know. You can't know. It's undefined behavior.
I let them initialize themselves.
I don't use languages that allow undefined behavior.
Well, lucky you.
I need a protective layer around my bad decisions when I code things. I need something that just assumes I meant to do the right thing and that adjusts appropriately in the runtime.
And that's an interesting thing, because, well, if you do that, right, then why are you investing in a lot of these tools? Because the language insulates you from, or the technology choices insulate you from these issues.
But again, it's what we've been talking about for a long time. It's one more list, one more 10,000 things to do that doesn't tell me what to do list, right?
But you have to buy another tool for that. That's why ASPMs and other things exist, right? I mean,
you have to buy the other single pane of glass.
Well, I think I've had a bit of an epiphany here. I think we have a tools problem.
Yeah, but you think?
Well, that is about this.
This is part of the comedy segment of the
But okay, wait, we have a segment.
But
Well,
this whole segment, the whole series is a comedy routine.
But
Fine,
wait, there
that's
is
true.
more. When you go down on the page, you get the beautiful heading, not the metrics you're looking for, right? So yeah, it's not about money. It's not about top 10 lists. It's not about anything. To me, again, the ship left thing keeps coming back to yes, it makes perfect sense. But has anybody actually asked the people who are supposed to do those things if they want to do those things? And the answer
Again-
that I keep going back to is no.
But again, whose responsibility is it? So in the article, there's a discussion here about security wants security fixes. Why does security want security fixes? Shouldn't developers want security fixes? Isn't who does quality doesn't want quality fixes? Developers want quality fixes, right?
That's my point. Developers don't want to look at things as fixes. Developers want, from my experience meeting and working with developers, they want to do the right thing.
They want
Now-
to avoid. They don't.
They want to avoid, yeah.
react.
So
Right.
the point is that we keep writing these amazing tools, supposedly shifting them left, putting a lot of weight on these poor developers that are under so much pressure already. And I'm not being cynical here. I fully stand behind saying this. We are just adding pressure to what's already a pressure cooker.
But there's a fundamental problem to what you just said. Why do we need to push a tool into that environment? It's because they're creating buggy software.
It's a cause and effect.
Exactly.
The tool is, yeah, I mean, they're
And what's
doing
the
things.
solution? What's the solution that is mentioned in the article? We have to shift left.
So start left.
We,
So
no,
start
no,
left.
Start left, but how do you start left? By
With
teaching
requirements,
these people
training.
by training, by teaching these people what the right thing is.
Yeah.
You're right. And
Like-
guardrails and paved roads.
It's
what
everything.
we've been
Yeah, it's
highlighting.
the whole package. That's the
But
catch.
again, no, even
it isn't
before
shifting
guardrails,
anywhere. It's
Even
just
before guardrails, look, if you teach it right, if it becomes part of the discipline, in theory, you don't need guardrails. I keep going to performance. We don't have performance guardrails, for God's sake.
yeah.
People just
true.
write performance code.
I mean, the place I've landed on this and why this has pissed me off for the last couple of years, and I've just railed against this whole idea of shift left and made fun of it at every chance I get, is
It's a
because
cynical view. Or
it's really what we're talking about, though, is secure development lifecycle.
Yes.
You just need all you need is a secure development lifecycle, a solid approach to process, people, process, tools, governance. The people need to use the process. They can use the tools to support the process, and you need a governance angle to run through it. That
And-
isn't
and you'll-
shift left.
And your life cycle has to start with requirements, training, and technology choices.
Yeah,
and
100%.
we keep saying
We solved
trust,
it. We're done.
Well,
It's
no,
over.
no, we
Solved
haven't.
it.
Wait. We keep saying trust but verify, right? And we keep putting a lot of money and time into building the tools that do the verify part. But we do nothing about the trust part. We don't go to these developers and say, okay, you know what? I will give you the training. I will give you the time. This will become part of your discipline. This is going to be incorporated in the way that you do things. And then I can verify.
So do you want to have a trust score for each individual developer?
No, I just want to spend some time teaching them the right thing and hoping that a good thing comes out of the
I
end.
mean, you know, I'm a big fan of training and developers because that's what Security Journey, my first
and
company,
you know
did.
that I paid a lot of money for Security Journey
That's
training
fair.
because I liked the way that it was done.
That's
right?
just why we became friends. 'Cause
Yeah, and
you
we
gave
got-
me a lot of money, and then I was like,
and
let's
we got
be
some,
friends.
and we got some very good results out of it, right?
Yeah. No, it did. Yeah. So I mean, training has to be one of the foundational pieces of the process.
Right.
But-
And more
but
importantly,
please-
that means developers are invested in making this work.
Exactly, Chris. Even with Security Journey, which isn't a really good product, and I have no qualm saying so, we still had to fight a budget thing uphill. We still had to ask developers to give us time. We still had to ask managers to give the developers time. My whole point is, when are people going to say, we have solutions. Let's just go and use them the right way. Let's give these developers the time to learn the things that they need to learn.
I think I have the answer to that one too. It's when the business drives those actions. The business is not forced to drive those actions today because they can get away with not doing them and still make money.
It's when CISA, instead of saying that the major flaw in your product development process is that you don't put CWEs on CDEs, says that the major flaw is you don't train your developers enough. You don't teach them what they actually need to know, not to create CVEs based on CWEs.
And listen, like I've said before, and I'm going to say again in this talk I'm doing later this week, if CISA wants what they're creating to have teeth, put a penalty clause in it that says if you don't improve by 10% in this category, let's say they said train their developers, that if you don't improve your developers' knowledge in a measurable way by 10%, you have to give away 10% of your gross profit to a technology-focused charity.
Now you're promoting the security team to security police, and I would love to kick some doors.
So now you're basically saying just do what the EU is doing and make it by regulation.
No. You don't have to. It's not mandatory that you sign up for this. But if you're going to make the problem that I've had with this stupid pledge is it doesn't actually mean anything. So I could go pledge any company, and I don't have to do anything, and I can get my name on the website that says rah me, let's go, secure by design. We all love it. My point is, if I'm going to sign the pledge, I'm making a step. So you want to make it interesting, make some consequences that are measurable and published. And
what's the over and under on this one? There's a Vegas thing going on here.
Everybody bets everything these days. Bring in FanDuel or MGM Sports or something. Let them give us over.
How many businesses are going to voluntarily do that, right?
Well, that's the point. That's my point is it's just lip service. They're paying lip service and there's no teeth.
But on the other hand, a business
get me fired
steps
up Monday morning.
A team that steps up and says, you know what, we pledge in a year to have 90% of all our developers trained on the stack that they use. You know what? I'll even give it to you. You can use it as marketing as much as you want. But then you pledge to something that's actually achievable and something that's actually
it's measurable.
And something that actually will have an impact.
I'd get behind that 100% because it's not just me paying lip service to say, security is the most important thing to me. Now I'm going to go back to my regularly scheduled programming. Like, that's something that you said, hey, we're going to do this. You can measure it. You can publish it. That's exciting. My point is none of this Secure by Design pledge has any of that accountability associated with it.
I think that in a month, Davichi has to come out with a statement that 100% of your developers have been trained.
There we go.
By the way, I'd be surprised if they hadn't yet, but...
my development team at Davichi has been with me for a long time, so
But that's the kind of thing that I want to see coming from especially a security company. To go back to that episode that we had about the security utilities approach, if you are going to go teach someone, help someone to do their stuff securely, I'm expecting you to fully come forward, not you, but you, the video.
Eat your own dog food, yeah.
I'll do it, come on.
To come forward and say, hey, you know what? I took the time, I made the investment, my developers are all fully trained. Yeah. Now I can trust them, and now I can verify them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think we're out of time for today with this episode of the Security Table, and now I'm like, it's Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm like 100% fired up. I'm like, let's go knock over some walls or something here, because this is good. Got me excited.
Need a Rock'em Soccer robot kind of thing going. That's
a virtual one. I don't want to accidentally hurt myself. All right, well, folks, this has been another episode of Security Table. We started with woodpeckers and IT crowd, and we landed. I think we made some progress against the challenges. I was able to express my challenges, and you guys were able to explain why 100x isn't really the answer. It's much less. But hey, tune in next week for probably some other animal to be assaulting Matt's house. And
let's see the Matt calls animal show and all.
Yes, right. Like on the Johnny Carson show, that animal guy would show up and a monkey would be climbing on like Reese Witherspoon's head or something. You know, that was hilarious. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. And to all our friends in Australia and around the world, we're signing off.